Hey everyone, Jared with Second Life Design. I have another shop tour video. I went out to Hiatt Woodworking yesterday and talked for a while with Aaron out there. He's got a great shop, does a lot of cool stuff, and there's a lot of good information in this video. It's really long, but there is some really good information for live edge woodworkers, beginning welders, metal workers, anyone that's kind of taking the next step from, hobby woodworking into a little bit more of a business sense of it. The business side of it, or just kind of getting the next tier of things, the second level of woodworking. The audio is not the greatest. I'm kind of a loud talker. Aaron's a little bit of a quiet talker, and he had an fan running, his air filter running, and I did not hear it at the time, but it is very obvious on the audio. So I would recommend plugging in some earbuds, turn it to max volume, and it's pretty good. You can still hear everything. It's a little trying at times, but give it a shot, stick with it. There's a lot of good info in here. I really hope you guys get a lot out of it. And yeah, I appreciate you watching. All right. Who are you and what do you do?
Hiatt Woodworking. I do a lot of live edge stuff. I didn't start that way, but it just kind of became the popular thing, as you've kind of seen as well.
Yep.
So I still do, I wouldn't say the majority, but a good amount of kind of rectangular dimension lumber, stuff like that. But milling around stuff has brought me into, that's my leverage, is using the stuff that I make control it here rather than have to buy from the store.
Okay. So Aaron and I met on Instagram 4 or 5 years ago, probably. I think it was, I was getting into chainsaw milling, or he was getting into Lucas Mill, and there's not many in the Champaign-Urbana area. There's not a ton of younger woodworkers that are doing live edge things or bigger projects. There's a lot of cutting board people and hobbyists, but on a larger scale, there's not many woodworkers around. So we kind of worked together on a few different things and traded advice back and forth, and done a lot of cool stuff, and show you a shop today. And I think there's some good info in here, and he does a lot of different simple projects by looking at them, but really high end and really nice looking stuff. So kind of start over here. You said you dry a lot of your own lumber. You got some stacks inside, and maybe we'll talk about this later, but as things come out of the kiln and get dried, it's always a problem of finding the dry spot for them to stay. Would that be right?
Yes.
So
I don't have a lot of empty space under roof. That I really don't have a lot that is climate controlled. So usually when it comes out of the kiln, it goes in the back, which we'll take a look at that. But I've got the equivalent to a one-car garage bay to stack dry lumber back there, and it'll be covered. It's next to a wood stove. It picks up some moisture, but definitely less than it would back outside, and less than it would, without a heat element back there in the winter. So if I think I'm going to use it quickly, or if it's one of the better pieces, it comes up here and stays in the shop. It's climate control.
man, look at those big boys.
So a lot of these, there's big cottonwood in the back, which you'll see on the second video, the Lucas Mill, so I can mill 61 inches. Those actually had to taper down. I mean, they are 59 3/4 wide. They just barely fit through there. So I milled those, and then there's some honey locust that also had to be nipped down in the end, because it's about 59 inches wide at the top. And then just kind of some miscellaneous stuff. I keep quite a bit, but I definitely make more than I can use, so I end up selling it. I'll sell some to other woodworkers here. I don't have a problem selling it to other woodworkers in my market, but sometimes I try to wholesale it out of the market for a cheaper, a big bulk price. Rather than try to sell 1 or 2 slabs here, I'll sell a whole tree to someone, in Indiana, and sell it that way.
Okay. So, talking about work process a little bit, your shop, you said, how big is your shop?
24 by 40 in this space.
Okay, and this is a converted barn of sorts, is that right?
It was a cow barn at one point.
Okay, so we'll do a little painting around here. This was an empty building when all the finishing you have done,
Yeah, there was a concrete floor, which is still here, and it's still very out of level, but everything else I finished out. We raised the ceiling, we raised the rafter cord, did it just, I think it's about 10.5 feet, and then foam insulated everything and put lights up. And it's actually just barely bigger than my shop. I had a shop in Champaign, kind of in a warehouse district for 3 years, and it's just barely bigger. So I kept the same workflow, the same tool layout because it worked there.
Yeah.
The door's in a different place, but other than that, it's just about identical. So
Okay.
I did definitely put some thought into that. When you set up your shop, because it definitely pays off. And I would always suggest leaving more empty space than you think you need.
Absolutely.
You'll use it when you're doing assemblies and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So we'll do kind of a working process here. You have a current job you're working on. You can talk about that a little bit, and then we'll go into that and into your workflow. So right now he's got these 2 giant walnut slabs. They're on his sawhorses here, and so these are going to be a bar top. You mentioned. From this point, what's going to happen to them, like here?
Kind of where I'm standing, I'll set up a router sled system and flatten one side, using a router sled, and then that creates a large mess, of course. So I'll try to keep that mess down as much as I can. There's not really a great way. Ideally, it'd be in a separate building or area, but the jet air filter does a good job of cleaning it up pretty quickly. And then from there, I'll put them through a planer if they're small enough. Or these actually are about 1.5 inches too big to go through my planer, so I will take them to a 24-inch planer once I've given one side flat to register on the planer bed. So I'll either store, kind of how it was in my old shop when I had less of my own stock, so I'd be bringing in material for projects and for jobs. I would bring it in and stash it, kind of here, right by the front door. And that really hasn't changed. Again, a lot of this is just random leftovers at this point because I have a lot of stock elsewhere to use for projects. I keep a little bit of steel on hand, and a lot of the lumber is just kind of miscellaneous stuff that may or may not get used because I've got stashes over here and stashes in the back and stuff coming out of the carrying tubes.
Okay.
From there, I will, if it needs flattened, if it needs whatever done with it broken down with a chainsaw, and then I keep my milling equipment. It's identical to my old shop where my electrical box is on this wall. I had to relocate that one when I outfitted the shop. But I put the most power-hungry tools by the box because I don't have to run 200 feet of 10-gauge wire.
Okay.
So I set those up there, joint and mill, and then, it's really kind of set up for a traditional woodworking shop where you're taking boards and making tabletops. So you join your mill, you bring it over to the table saw, you'll rip the other edge off after you join one edge, and then you can put them back to the joiner one more time, and then you've got a work table, outfit table, put your glue ups, stuff like that. I do less of that work now than I ever have, but it's still set up that way.
Okay. Just quick about the milling equipment. Noticed you have the Laguna planer. Is that the helical head model?
Yeah.
Okay. And and Aaron told me about this long ago. I ended up, the planer I have was Aaron's old one. And he was one that kind of clued me in that all of the 15 and 20-inch planers are exactly the same. Am I saying that right?
I think the castings are all the same. I think so they're all made in the same place, but the manufacturers can spec out switches, electronics, and bearings. So they're not necessarily identical machines, but a lot of it isn't that important.
Okay.
I think the 20-inch Grizzly planer that I got rid of to get that one for a helical head cut just as well and almost seemed to have more power than that one.
Okay.
I don't thoroughly dislike the Laguna, but I got a good deal on it used. I don't see any reason to go out and buy a new one or a Powermatic.
Right.
I've had good luck with Grizzly and Jet. A lot of the complaints I hear on Grizzly are electronics and switches switches are cheap. It's not really a reason to pay a double price tag.
Yeah, I would say that as well. I think a lot more people are considering Grizzly, and just for what you're getting for the price point, you're talking half the price and you're getting almost an identical tool.
Yeah. The only maintenance I've ever had to do on a Grizzly is I had to replace the switch on this joiner.
Okay.
And that was, they have good service, and it was three days, something like that.
Yeah.
And the new switch went in, and it was fine.
Yeah. No, that's and I think a lot of people kind of aspire to have the 20-inch planer. We've talked about this before, but really, if you have the means, like save up some more money and get a bigger standalone planer than so many people get if you're doing anything of size, stay away from the lunchbox planers. They are just going to be so loud and so noisy that it will be a night and day difference to a standalone planer. Would that? Yeah,
I would definitely always suggest getting a stationary planer. That's probably the biggest difference most people make in their shop is going from a DeWalt or something like that to something like this. Especially, if you're building picture frames, sometimes you can take, really small amounts from a DeWalt. They have rubber in-feed and out-feed rollers, so they don't mar up the surface. If you take a really light cut on a big stationary planer, there's a serrated in-feed roller which will put fine lines. And where that's set at, those lines, if you take a thin enough pass, you might still be able to see the lines on the other side.
Right.
That will never happen with a rubber in-feed DeWalt planer, but taking an eighth of an inch off and not,
right.
There's a lot of things that won't happen with the DeWalt that you can't do with this. So,
right.
I would never ever go back to one of those planers.
Well, and I look at people that they buy the 600 DeWalt planer, they use it for a while, they go through a few sets of knives, and then they're like, well, I'm just going to swap out and get a helical head for that DeWalt, which doubles the price. So they're now at $1,200 plus the knives they use and whatever. And you could get a good used 20-inch planer or 15-inch, even if they need that capacity. I think a 15-inch would serve most people
definitely would.
More than what they need. At least with my experience, I either max out my 20-inch planer where I can't do it, or I have 6 inches on either side available. That's just kind of been the way it's worked out for me. It's very rare to get a 19-inch piece.
The reason I went with a 20 and a 24 would be great, but not worth the extra, especially since I have access to one for a few dollars, $10 an hour or whatever it is. So I have a 20-inch because I can take two 24-inch live edge slabs, trim one side off, make a 19 3/4, put them together and make a dining table with two boards.
Right.
So, or even if you're gluing up dimensional lumber, you can glue up two halves, put them through the planer, join them, put them together, and have one seam to sand. So, if you're not interested in building dining tables, there's not much of a reason to have a 20-inch planer.
Right.
And those 15s are available.
And that's going back to sizing your equipment to your work.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something a lot of people need to consider with what's your end result. What are you really looking to do? If you want to make cutting boards, get a 16-inch drum sander, and that will be more than enough. Yeah. But exactly as you said, if you're never going to make a dining table over 40 inches wide or whatever, so just kind of sizing your equipment to your work would be the.
You'll definitely do most of it.
Yeah. So about the joiner, do you have any special stories you'd like to share about your joiner?
No.
Okay.
Get a shot of the sticker.
Okay. Previous to meeting Aaron, I he was posting stuff on his Instagram about close calls with his joiner, and he always seems like every year he always puts a reminder sticker up. What does that say? I barely see it.
It's got someone missing 2 fingertips.
So
it's a very accurate sticker.
And this is the joiner that did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't own a joiner myself, and I have said for years that I know I need one at some point, but I'm still very scared of them. They are finger eaters.
They don't have to be. Everything's preventable, and of course I was putting something small through there on a Sunday when I was tired and didn't want to be working anyway. It was something silly to do, and my real advice would be, and I followed this since, if you really don't want to be in the shop, of course you can only do this if you don't do this full time, but if you really don't want to be in the shop and you're just trying to get something done, maybe just go inside.
Yeah.
Because that was a day that I had the thought that I don't want to be here, and I don't want to be doing this, and was just trying to hurry through it and did something that I probably knew I shouldn't have been doing. So,
The two other people I know that have had either table saw accidents or something, and just what you said, they were distracted by something else. They had, there was the end of the day and they were tired, or they were worried about something at work and were not focusing on what they're doing. And I cannot stress that enough. If you're distracted, go out of the shop, because everything here can hurt you.
Yeah.
That would be
I agree with that.
That'd be the moral of that story. So, Aaron's kind of indoor wood storage, and this is kind of a cold storage area. The wood stove is over here, but it is a little bit colder in here. It's not insulated, and it is just for dry storage of things that things have come out of the kiln, and they need a place to dry until they come in for a project. So, yeah, not too much going on here. What is the loader over there? I think everyone dreams of having something like that. What's the story of that, Aaron?
It is a German loader, which may or may not have been a good idea. It's actually been awesome so far. It will pick up about 6,500 pounds. It has a bucket. I think it's a 1.5 or 2 yard bucket or something like that. It's got a big bucket on the front, and it's what I move all my logs with, and all the stacks. It's what I load the kiln with. The front will actually boom out about 6 feet, something like that. So
this is kind of like a small telehandler.
Yeah, it's a compact front end loader.
And who makes this?
Kramer Allrad.
Kramer Allrad.
Now they are sold under Wacker Newson. I think there's basically the same model imported now under Wacker's name.
Okay, and this is, it's 4-wheel drive, obviously. It does articulate.
4-wheel steer.
4-wheel steer. Okay, and this is it's not super heavy, because I think you have an F450 flatbed and a trailer. You can haul this on your trailer, right?
It's about 10,000 pounds. it maxes that trailer out, but it's
so it's comparable to a skid steer.
Yeah, it really, for how big it is and how much it can lift, it doesn't really weigh that much. It's a skid steer that weighs, they're so compact that the leverage is against the skid steer. It's so short.
Right. But this is also Aaron's property. He's out in the country, has a long driveway, needs to clear his own driveway, and this is really needed. This is something that it fits in a 1-car garage. It's a small footprint for what it is, but this is pretty awesome. I want something bigger, obviously, but it's pretty good for him. So, all right. Got a big old table saw here. This is a monster. You don't do hardly anything with sheet goods, do you?
No. I think the reason I bought this, well, I haven't bought anything new, with the exception of maybe a couple of Festool items. I just buy everything used. I just do.
Yeah, the markup on everything is there, and
it can be argued either way, and I do make money with all these things. So if you're profiting, then it makes sense to. There's a few things that I just needed and I went and bought, and the job paid for them. But in general, everything is used. So I got a deal on the saw that was probably almost half of what I can sell it for now. So I don't know that I would necessarily buy something that big again, but I did at the time I put a router lift in the end of it.
Okay.
Which is kind of the reason I got the bigger table to do that.
Yeah.
So I use that for a handful of things. I use that for a couple of jobs that it's paid for the router lift and that kind of stuff. I don't find myself using it very often anymore.
Okay.
Because they do tend to be a clutter.
Yeah, that's something I'm working on in my own shop, of kind of removing as many horizontal surfaces as I can.
Yeah.
Because I have a big table like this, a big table saw with the wide cut, and I'm getting rid of it because I cannot use 2/3 of it because it's just a catch-all for crap.
Yeah.
And with the track saw now, I don't need the big ride grip capacity anymore anyway. So I think there's something to be said for that. Horizontal surfaces will be catch-alls.
Mm-hmm.
So. You have a fair amount of Festool things. I think you were the first one that told me to get a track saw and don't look back. Is that something would you be a proponent of their?
I think I am a proponent of all of their tools.
Okay.
I don't know if you found anything that you decided you didn't need.
So far I've been very happy with everything, and I'm actually switching where I'm going like full Euro, where using almost all the Festool stuff. I'm going to an MFT style work table. I do a lot more sheet good stuff and casework, so it just kind of makes more sense. But it just being able to go mobile, I don't like the dug in, like I can only work in my shop, I can't work anywhere else. You know, I don't have a big need for it now, but at some point I may need to where I'm going to put built-ins in somebody's house or something where I want to be able to go a little more remotely with that. The jigsaw was the one I was always on the fence about. I bought the Carvex, and I didn't, at the time, I was like, I was doing a job where I needed a jigsaw. I was like, well, I'll just get a nice one and be done. And I'm glad I got it. I use it all the time. It has a ton of power. I can cut through, 12-quarter slabs, no problem. So it works well for breaking stuff down, especially the live edge stuff that has the tension in it and all that. So it's, have you regretted anything? I remember you talked about domino. You don't really use the domino a lot.
I don't use it a lot, but it's already paid for itself. So I guess I definitely can't say I'm not happy with it. It's amazing. Just in the type of stuff I build, I don't have a lot of use for it. At best, I'd be using it as a biscuit to line things up.
Right.
It's just my type of work, but again, I got it for a job and it paid for itself when I had one job.
Right.
So it's really great. I've come close to selling it because I rarely use it, but I always end up keeping it. The only thing I didn't get for a long time is one of the vacuums, and I'm the other way. I don't go out and do anything. I just try to work in my shop. But I did have one project where it was going to be on site. I was going to have to strip a finish on a bar that somebody else did and refinish it. So I bought it for that, and to me, it's already paid for itself.
Yeah.
So when I was in the shop, I used a rigid system, and I built a boom so it swings out where it needs to go, and I adapted the Festool post to the end.
You can see the column going up and around.
So I can get to about anywhere in the shop with that. Hooked up to my Rotex most of the time. So I can do anything on this table, anything on this table. If I've got sawhorses set up, I can get anything, just about most places in the shop.
Holy cow, that's some reach.
I built this in my old shop, and I brought it over here just because the Festool boom was more money than I needed to spend just to do that. So I don't regret the vacuum, but if you're just going to be in your shop and you're building up tools, you don't need one of the vacuums. Buy a rigid and adapt the host.
Yeah.
It's definitely way better. It's worth the money. It's just whether or not you need it to do what you want to do.
Yeah. I found, and I was a mechanic for so long, being around big diesels, my hearing's going. Mm-hmm. It still works, but just I have my days where ears are ringing and everything. At least with my back, it's a lot quieter. So just that overall noise is, I like that, especially on site or if I'm working in my own house. Yeah. It's just a lot quieter. You can talk over it a little bit, where just regular shop backs they're screaming, and that's just my own thing. But yeah, it's a very expensive vacuum, that's for sure.
It's great, and it's worth the money if you need it. It's just whether or not you need it. So it's track saws, the routers is something I thought they couldn't improve a router. The router just spins, and it's the best router. I have a 1400. I think.
So the mid-size one, the 1400, yeah.
And it's amazing. The Rotex, if I only had to use a 5-inch regular random little sander, I would quit woodworking at this point. I will only use a Rotex. I've got a 6-inch Rotex.
Would you consider a finish sander? I'm almost ready to pull the trigger on one. Would you think about to make it lighter? Because the Rotex is just kind of clunky for if you're doing it for hours and hours of sanding, which I try not to do. But
if you're doing casework or anything like that, yeah. For tables, you don't need it. You can find sand with a Rotex, put on a big flat surface.
Yeah.
If you're doing small things, picture frames, legs of an assembled table and aprons, something along that, yeah, it's really clunky.
Yeah, which is it's long.
Yes.
From when you add on the
dig in, if you know the balance just right, which is easy to do on a big table, but small, it's difficult. So I don't need one, but I understand there are woodworkers that do need one, and apparently those are great too.
Yeah, I would say they're very expensive things, but I've never been disappointed with any of them. When a jigsaw is a jigsaw, or a router's a router, like you said, but they make the best one out there.
Yeah.
if however good it can be, they're going to find a way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I never thought I'd need a $400 jigsaw, and then I was like, okay, I have the best jigsaw there is.
Yeah.
So.
I've never regretted the festival purchase.
Yeah. All right, let's move over to the metalwork stuff. So Aaron, I don't know if I mentioned or not, he is pretty much single source. So whenever he needs something, from start to finish, he's going to do it. And that includes when he's making a table, he is making the table legs. That's where I get all my table legs. He makes those for me. You don't have a ton of metalwork stuff. You know, we're all on one screen. We're looking at everything you have. And is there anything you know, we have a small MIG welder, a good sized drill press, and a bandsaw. Is there anything else needed for this, or?
Not really. You can do different, you can get into table welding. You could, for furniture, you don't need anything more than 110. You know, a 220 welder if you're trying to do a criminal in a trailer or something like
Right.
that. You're definitely going to need 220.
Yeah.
But for furniture bases, I find a 110 MIG for $500 is all you need to do. With gas, I would suggest doing a solid wire with gas versus a flux cord. Really, the one thing, kind of like the festival sander, is if you made me give away the hydraulic bandsaw, I would put metalworking.
Okay.
I used to spend lots of time cutting it with angle grinders, cutting things off. Even a big cutoff saw, it's not any fun. No one likes to do it. And this is way more accurate. I can cut slivers that are a 32nd or a 64th of an inch off tubing and have it be dead square. The one thing that there are smaller versions of these saws.
So who makes this saw?
This is a Grizzly saw.
Okay, so this is Grizzly.
The G0613. It was a G0614, I think, just a little bit bigger.
Okay.
I think it's a 7x9, something like that. And the reason I chose this saw, which doesn't seem that big a deal until if you have a really big shop, it's not. But if you're cutting on a DeWalt cutoff saw and you want to cut an angle, you have to take a whole piece of metal and turn it.
Right.
Which you could be swinging a 20-foot piece of metal to cut a 45-degree angle. You're swinging it 15 feet.
Okay.
This saw, which you have to go up to, they have smaller versions that are hydraulic feed and do the same job. This version has a head that will turn so your workpiece stays straight.
Okay. So no matter what, your in feed is always staying at the same angle.
And it'll go up to something like 60 degrees, I think.
Oh wow.
So that's the reason to get a saw this big. I don't really ever use the capacity, but having a head that turns versus a workpiece that turns is a big deal. It's coolant fed. It can cut. I don't even use the coolant a lot of times because I'm doing small 1x1, 2x1, 3x1 tubing. That's 1/8 inch wall at most. But you can cut some thick stuff with the coolant. They sell blades. I want to say it's about a $1,600 saw maybe. It's about $1,500 up the one that bought it, but it could have gone up. So this is a thing that
it's a big investment, but it gives a lot out of it.
Yeah, no more throwing sparks all over your shop. There's not metal shavings everywhere. It's safer. You can go somewhere else and do something else while it's cutting.
Okay.
A lot of times if I'm doing table bases and I have to put clips or top plates on the legs, I'm cutting while I'm drilling. That's why the drill is right there.
Okay.
So while this is cutting, I'm drilling the bar stock or whatever for the top.
Okay.
This is just a wood bandsaw, so I don't do anything with. I use it rarely. I don't do a lot of that kind of work. I need a bandsaw, but occasionally I'll resaw something. Or, this is something I thought about selling, but as soon as I do, I need it for something.
Gotta have a bandsaw.
Yeah.
Gotta have a bandsaw.
I could get away with a bench top, but then what's.
Well, and that's I think going back to the Euro style I'm switching to, a bandsaw is a needed thing, and they take up such a small footprint for what you can do with them.
Yeah.
I think if you get a good fence with them, you can use that for a lot of stuff. Get creative with it, and it takes up such a small footprint.
Yeah.
Where I'm finding even with the table saw, I only do like long, thin rips anymore. I'm taking an 8-inch board and making 2 4-inch pieces. Where if you had a good fence on a bandsaw, you could do the same thing, and it takes up I'm worried about footprint. In a small shop, how much of space is it occupying? And so you're trying to get more into the idea of using a bandsaw for more things. So, all All right. Well, Aaron, I think we're getting kind of long here, but this has been an excellent shop tour. We have a lot of good stuff and a lot of good information for people, especially getting into the slab world. I think that's something that you had more experience with and that we've kind of both grown into over the last few years, and it's always good to bounce ideas off of, and doing all the big bars and things. He does big bars. If you're in Champaign, Urbana area, you've been into a bar that he's built the bar for, tables for, or anything like that. So definitely follow him on Instagram at Hiatt Woodworking. I'll drop a link to that below. Any questions or comments, drop them down below. Hit me up on Instagram at Second Life Design. It's always a little bit easier to find me there. And thank you.